Welcome to Small Biz Life, episode 81, Sleep, your greatest productivity tool.
Does this sound familiar?
Oh my God, I have so much to do today.
Don't forget to breathe.
But I have almost 400 emails in my inbox and 30 phone calls to make.
Have you looked into getting a virtual assistant yet?
Oh, and I need to schedule all my social media posts.
Did you drink anything today?
I had coffee.
Did you eat today?
Did I mention coffee's a bean?
This is Small Biz Life.
Hey guys, welcome to another exciting episode of Small Biz Life.
Wow, yeah. I don't know, I'm zooming on energy right now. I just did breath scaling and I feel invigorated.
Oh, probably because you got enough sleep.
Yes.
So we want to thank you so much for tuning in for this episode. My name's Kristen Ingram.
And I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram.
And we are both well rested.
Yes, we are extremely well rested.
We are a husband and wife team of small business owners who are walking with you through this journey that we call the Small Biz Life. Because, you know, there's a lot of crap in your schedule and in your business and your life. And we want to kind of help you, weed through that and find the things that are really important.
Yeah. Your dreams, those things that you maybe used to have and they're not so strong anymore because life's got you down. Well, if you let us get some of the crap out of there, your life will be better.
Well, there's probably no dreaming because there's no sleep.
Yes.
Right? And that's when we dream. So we wanted to talk about sleep because this is one of the things that, when you're going through looking at productivity tools, so you've got your planner, you've got your task list, you've got all these things.
And you're looking for more because you need to get more productive so you can get more sleep.
But I think your greatest productivity tool is getting enough sleep.
Yeah, maybe we start back there. I think one of the tricks we play to ourselves is we start giving up sleep because we just need a little bit more time here and a little more time there. And we think that we've found a new system that works for us, but really we end up over time doing less and less. And when we get into some of these things, you're going to see just how valuable sleep is. I mean, we could have a whole episode just reading off benefits of sleep.
Right. So we're hoping that some of these benefits that we're going to give you will finally convince you to get the sleep you need.
And deserve.
So, when is the last time you had a good night's sleep? And you woke up refreshed? And you didn't have, do you have morning fog?
Not once in my life have I had morning fog. Nope.
Not recently.
Not recently, no.
How many times do you kind of feel behind before you even start the day, right? So you're saying, well, I'm behind, so I'm going to work longer hours and I'm going to cut back on my sleep even more. That's the kind of mental trap that's really going to hurt you.
Yeah, because you get into this cycle saying, well, I'm surviving on 4 hours, but am I actually getting anything done in the 20 hours I'm awake?
Right. And, science has proven that if you get into that sweet spot of 7 to 9 hours a night, you are going to get so much more done. That's why we're saying that sleep is the greatest productivity tool out there.
Now, I know what might be going through some of your minds, this idea that, well, yeah, yes, your new little science stuff is all nifty, but, I don't need 7 to 9 hours of sleep.
And you gave me that argument for a long time.
I gave my wife that argument for a long time because I was that person. I don't need it. I can do 3 hours a night, one sleep cycle, I'm done. And over time, I started getting less and less done, but it's slowly so you don't see it. And then your brain gets foggy and it becomes harder to rationalize it. And then finally, I just gave in and I tried.
Right. And if you're one of those people that, and I used to be this person that in the afternoon, kind of like maybe like 2:00, you're kind of like done for the day, right? You're kind of like, okay, I'm my brain is just done. That may be an indication you're not getting enough sleep.
Yeah. And really the big kind of win I think you can take away from this from a productivity standpoint is maybe you don't trust us enough to go to 8. That's fine. I mean, who are we to tell you science? We're not scientists. But we do know that there are studies out there that show if you get an extra 50 minutes a night in sleep, you'll get a 20% increase in your productivity.
That's crazy.
So just think about that. Just try another 50 minutes. Give it a week. And if you see improvements, just layer in another 50 minutes and another 50 minutes because you'll start getting more done while you're awake and getting it done more quickly and more clearly with less mistakes. And then all of a sudden you can get to that 7 to 9 hours and get a lot of the benefits and avoid some of the risks because there are some real risks to not sleeping.
Right. And he's saying 50.
Yeah.
Right. So try to get an extra 50 minutes of sleep. And if you can't do that, try 20, try 30. But the thing that you're going to find though is that especially like if you're in that like 5 to 6 hour a night zone, as you increase your sleep, you're going to find you're more productive. You're going to find that you're able to be more focused. And it's like I said, Jeff was a huge skeptic on this. He fought me. I don't need 8 hours of sleep. That's silliness. But I think, and it's funny because Jeff is also a very science-based guy. And so as he started doing the research, it was kind of tough for you to make the argument that you don't need 8 hours of sleep.
Well, I kind of got to it too from this mentality where I was a soldier and I really was trained on how to act on minimal sleep. But then you start to realize that that's not the same thing. So yeah, there are tricks, tips, and techniques and ways that you can be conditioned, but those are for short periods of time. Those aren't for your whole life. And if you start applying those beyond the usefulness, you can do a lot of harm to your body.
So what are some of the benefits? We'll kind of talk about like the general benefits and then we'll kind of talk about what sleep does for you.
Yeah. So really, I broke them down into really 3 categories. And it was 1, improves overall health, right? Your body actually focuses more on repairing itself when you're asleep. Now, there are things you can do, cold baths and stuff like that if you're that kind of person. But really, sleep is when the body's designed to repair your body. But not only your body, your mind. And they're starting to identify toxins that build up while you're awake using your brain that only flush out at night. So like where your body will more slowly heal during the day, they think that it only heals the brain at night when you're asleep at night. Let me be clear.
And I think that's critically important. Like if nothing else, that's huge. Because if you're kind of experiencing brain fog, a lot of time that brain fog is caused by toxins building up in your brain. And so if you don't give your brain the chance to kind of flush those things out.
And there are definitely other kinds of things that can play into it too. If you're not sleeping well at night, if you have allergies, those things can lead to brain fog too. If you get in the sleep and you still have the brain fog, go see a doctor.
Right, because there may be an underlying problem that you're not getting quality sleep when you're sleeping.
And then improved cognition and memory. So cognition is your ability to sort of focus in and even solve problems and to think clearly through things, to have the clarity to work better, to live your life with your family better, being more present with them at the moment. That's through cognition and through memory as well, where they're showing that the brain actually not only can recall better when you sleep. And they actually did a study where they took people and they had one group do it awake where they would do it like one of those like card pairing tests and you'd flip cards over until they match. And then they would do it with people without the sleep and people with the sleep. And there was a marked improvement for people who had a full night's rest.
Well, it's kind of like, it's kind of the same, like if you like eat food that's really terrible for you, like, like have you ever gone to the fair and then like the next day you just feel like sluggish and kind of bleh. Well, if you're not getting enough sleep, right? All of that gunk is building up in your brain and you're not giving it the time to kind of clear itself out. So essentially it's like, you're giving your brain really bad food and then never allowing it the chance to get rid of it.
And here's a big one, and it was more meaningful. I was doing some aerobic activity the other day. I was on the elliptical machine because it's still cold up in New England, and I'm watching a course on television, and I'm doing my elliptical, having a lot of fun. And the thing I got done, after 30 minutes, I burned, I think, 260 calories around there. And I was like, oh, cool. And then I'm doing research for sleeping, and guess what happens if you get 8 hours of sleep? Apparently, people who sleep 8 hours a night burn an extra 300 calories. That's like an extra 30 minutes on an elliptical machine. Actually, even more than 30 minutes. Maybe 30 minutes if you actually move faster than me. But that's like an extra elliptical exercise routine for sleeping. Guess which one is easier to do for me? I don't know for you, but for me, sleeping is easier.
And I like sleep so much better. I really do. I'll get on the elliptical, but sleep I love. Now, really, let's kind of step in for a second and look at what happens when we sleep, because this is really the meat of it, right? So it's like the first, and I think the most important thing is, like I said, the brain clears out the waste products. There is a molecule, detritus. Detritus.
There's a molecule in the brain called detritus, I believe. And what happens is it turns into a toxic protein in your brain. And they're starting to connect this to dementia, to things like Alzheimer's and to other forms of dementia. So over time, the less sleep you get, the more deterioration you're causing in your brain by allowing that molecule to remain there. And if you sleep, your brain clears it away.
Yeah. And so, as somebody that does a lot of intellectual work, a lot of content creation, one of my biggest fears is dementia and Alzheimer's. And the more we started doing research on this, the more like sleep, my sleep is non-negotiable.
Yes. 11 o'clock, I fall over wherever I am now. Not quite, but.
But the thing is, if your brain is important to you, and it should be, it's kind of hard to function without it, then sleep should be more important. Especially, if you've had someone in your family that suffered from Alzheimer's and you've seen like the destructive effects of it. If you can just get a couple hours more sleep every night, isn't it worth it?
Yeah. Now, on top of clearing out the waste products, another important thing that happens when we sleep is that's when your short-term memory turns into long-term memory. So that essentially, as our body computers are working, that's where it goes from the RAM memory into your storage memory. So it's now on your hard drive. And then you can recall memories. So that allows you to recall things better. And it's not just memories and like intellectual material, but like if you do a physical task, like someone shows you how to do carpentry, some physical thinking. And but when you sleep at night, the routine of how to do that gets implanted into your brain.
And if you're trying to develop habits and you're really struggling with that, part of the reason may be because you don't get enough sleep.
Because you're not converting the memory over, and your short-term memory has limitations. It's like, have you ever been on your computer and it's low on memory and it starts to get slow and sluggish? That's your brain. Same thing.
Right. That's a really good analogy, actually.
And now, they actually show up to approximately a 40% drop in people's ability to recall if they're not getting enough sleep.
Wow.
40%. So you're losing almost half of the capacity of your brain, the mental recall memory portion of your brain, when you're not sleeping enough.
So if you're an otherwise healthy person and you're having trouble remembering people's names or where you put your car keys or how to do a task that you've done a number of times, that is probably indicative of the fact that you're not getting enough sleep.
And here's a nifty thing, and it makes sense, but I never thought about it. When you sleep, especially from a scheduled standpoint, it helps you track time. It helps differentiate that, we're in a new day now. We're in a new day now. That actually kind of resets your body clock. So it's another sort of intrinsic value of sleeping.
And I wonder if that's like why you get jet lag.
Well, that's actually I think one of the analogies I read in the article or study, one of the two I was looking at, was when you don't sleep, it's like you're giving yourself jet lag.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And jet lag sucks.
And really when it comes down to it, what's a little paralysis between friends? Sure, your body makes it so you can't move, which is probably good because when you're dreaming, sometimes you're maybe doing things you wouldn't want to do when you're awake. So your body paralyzes yourself, which is part of the thing of why it allows healing to happen. So allow a little paralysis in your life, but while you're sleeping.
Right. So that way you don't like pass out, at times that are not good.
And one of the other interesting things too is they find that you always hear about neural pathways being created in the brain. Well, guess when that happens? When you're asleep. And they actually did another study back in 2007 that shows those aha moments for most people happen in the morning after they had a full night's sleep because some new neural pathways created through, which allows you now to solve the problem that you've been stuck on. That's why you've been staying up so late for so long.
So maybe it's not the shower. I remember like lots of people get really good ideas in the shower. Maybe that's because you take a shower first thing in the morning, right?
And that's when your aha moments happen. You blame it on the shower. So you're like, well, it's 3 a.m. I haven't slept in 4 days because I need to solve this. I'm going to go take a shower and it doesn't work. This is because you didn't get the sleep part before the shower. So shower, yes, but sleep before it.
So we hope you've, kind of convinced yourself that, wait, I really need to make sure that I'm getting my 7 to 9 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about how you can sleep better. Okay, because I think that this is critically important. I think a lot of us say, okay, I really want more sleep, but, I get into bed and I wake up, or, I can't stay asleep. Let's talk about some strategies for making sure that you sleep better.
And this was a great one. I was doing a lot of research for this one, and Ariana Huffington is a big proponent, wrote a book, I believe, called Sleep. And there's some real amazing articles, probably coincidentally because she used to be in Huffington Post. So there's a lot of great articles in Huffington Post about it. And this first one that I ran into was kind of like, duh. We do it for everything else. Let's schedule our sleep. And actually, the more important alarm is when to go to sleep. So if you have trouble remembering when to go to sleep so you can do it at a scheduled fashion, set an alarm to go to sleep.
And that's the thing, your brain likes schedules, okay? No matter how much you resist it, your brain really likes schedules. You should try to go to sleep at a consistent time every day. And we know sometimes that can be really difficult. I think a lot of people, maybe they're consistent with their bedtime during the week, but then the weekend comes along and they go to bed a lot later.
Yeah.
Do you ever notice like sometimes on Sunday, you're like really sluggish on Sunday morning? Maybe because your brain is, not adjusting well.
And truly, it does like the same time every night. If you want to go to sleep later, get up later. And if you can't afford to, you should really go to sleep at the same time every night to maximize the benefits to your body. It's so funny. In a country, the U.S., we're starting to become health obsessed, which is good, taking care of the body. But the brain is part of the body.
Right.
We have to take care of it too. And not eating. There's some varying information on there, but kind of the rule of thumb that they brought up that you could take is you don't want to be stuffed, but you don't want to be starving.
Yeah. So you kind of, most of the things that I've seen, said that you really shouldn't eat anything 3 to 4 hours before you're going to go to bed. So this is going to kind of take some planning, on your part. Because remember that if you want to fall asleep at 10 o'clock, that doesn't mean you go up and get in bed at 10 o'clock because it's going to take you some time, to actually go to sleep. So, but if you want to go to sleep at 10, that means you're eating dinner at like 6.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it may not be, ideal. The other thing that you can do if you're going to eat a little bit later, you definitely don't want to eat like 2 hours before bed because that causes a lot of acid reflux kind of things. But one tip that I was given was if you eat your bigger meal in the midday and then have a lighter meal at night. So if you've got to eat a little bit later, you're not like stuffed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, that's another way to kind of get around it if you have a really busy schedule. Just kind of shift your big meals, instead of having it at dinner, have it at lunch instead.
Yep. And another great suggestion, too, is minimize the stimulants that you intake in your diet, especially as you approach bed. And the one rule I saw, which is to try to cut caffeine out by early afternoon. And I'm a coffee drinker. I don't need it because I have great energy and I wake up because I sleep really well and I do things to give myself more energy. But I still love coffee, so I drink it, but I do that in the morning.
Yeah, and you've been drinking a lot of herbal tea in the afternoon.
Herbal tea or green tea, I've been kind of switching back and forth depending on my needs. Ritual. It's like you always hear about the importance of that morning ritual, which I agree with. You should have an evening ritual too. And one thing to kind of keep in mind with it is if you like to e-read books, you shouldn't. You should use paper books at night. I'm a big fan of paper books for anything that you want to get more value out of. But there is definitely convenience to having the e-readers and the huge library with you. But don't use that before you go to bed because screens and the light from anything, even little LED lights all over your room, on your television, any of those kind of things will interact with your sensory system of your body, and which will engage your brain. So they say about an hour ahead, nothing electronic.
Yeah. And I mean, there's, lots of other research that shows that when you read paper books, you remember more of them.
That's next week's content.
Well, I'm sorry. But, I think there are a lot of other benefits besides sleeping. I know I remember a lot more books that I read on paper than I do electronically.
Yeah, almost definitely. Get comfortable. And really, it looks like cooler temperatures are better than warmer temperatures. And so if you don't like it to be cooler, throw a blanket on.
Right.
This is why we have blankets, right? And if you ever had that morning where you've woken up and it's like perfect sleeping weather and you're like, I don't want to get up. But if you think about it and you can really see it back in your mind, you were probably a little bit chilly outside of the blankets, and the blankets had you at a perfect temperature and you were cozy. I love cozy.
Well, and that's the thing with, if you get warm during the night and it's because you have blankets on, you will naturally pull them off of yourself. Have you ever noticed that you don't have as many blankets on in the morning?
I usually throw them on you. Yes.
Yes. And then I have to throw them on the floor. But when you set the temperature higher in your bedroom, your body can't do that, right? It can't get rid of the heat. And so, if you try for 68 degrees, and we actually do cooler than that. I actually like it probably around 60 when I sleep.
I like 30.
Yeah, I know. That's a little bit too cold for me. But I would rather do blankets knowing that I can kind of pull off the layers.
And the thing is, research really does kind of show cooler rooms at night help people sleep better. And that's what we're trying to help you do, sleep a little bit better. So while you're sleeping, you get more out of it. Once again, tied into the electronics, reduce the lights in your room. Try and get out as many as possible.
And the thing is, one strategy that we have is, if you have an alarm clock in your room, you can cover the face of it. What we do is we actually kind of have this little shelf under our TV that it goes in, And what we'll do is I'll actually turn it against the wall of that. So that way the light doesn't shine in the room. Because it's amazing that when you reduce all the other light, how much light is generated from those alarm clocks.
And there's another one which is better as people start doing more of this in the country, exercise. If you actually exercise and burn off energy from physical activity, your body's meant to move. So when you do it, your body then feels like it needs rest. Helps you sleep better at night. I wouldn't do it maybe right before bed, but, find a routine and try and work in a little more if you can.
Well, that's the thing I've noticed is like yesterday afternoon, like I did 30 minutes on the elliptical after you did. And when it was like 10 o'clock last night, like I was out.
Me too. Now, here's my favorite one. I spent
of course this is your favorite
over
one.
700 hours on this one bullet point alone. I even came up with a snappy name for it because it's so important.
And you did a lot of research. We did a lot of research.
700, yes, we did 700 hours of research in this one bullet point alone. Make a binary bed. And that means it's a two-state activity, binary.
Oh, okay. So binary means two.
On and off. So here, sleep is one of the two. Can you guess what the only other activity you should be performing in bed is? Sex. Yes.
You just made this episode explicit.
Because I said the S word?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that would make it. But I mean, here's the thing. We are trigger, right? We are trigger driven individuals. And when you work in bed, watch movies in bed, have sex in bed, sleep in bed, read in bed, when you do all of these things in bed, your brain gets confused. It's like, okay, are we working? Should the brain turn on? Are we watching a movie? Like, what are we supposed to be doing here? It's kind of the same theory that I told you guys that you need to have a workspace.
Yeah.
Well, this is your sleep space. Okay. And so you don't want to be doing other activities. You're trying to create a trigger that when I go to bed, there's only two things that are going to happen in the bed. And that's it.
And go up and nuzzle with your loved one. Say, honey, we're creating a binary bed tonight.
It might make your spouse really happy, actually. So, I mean, I think that's all that needs to be said about that, right? And if you go back to the trigger, the trigger research that we've talked about before, I just think it totally makes sense to me.
And like I said, there are going to be a lot of articles here from very authoritative sources, some studies, some articles that really sum stuff up well. I will not share any of my research on that, though, outside of where it shows up in articles, because we don't want to do that. Now,
You're insane.
one of those things, too, that came up is just being able to visualize yourself somewhere calm. If you're very anxious, just to help calm yourself down. So I'm not so sure on how well that one works, but give it a shot. And truly think about people who actually have sleep disorders, who are either forced to sleep way too much, because it gets bad over 10 hours too. You don't want to go there, and you don't want to be under 7. You want to be in that sweet spot. So, feel compassion for people who actually have actual disorders that cause them to have trouble, because these tips aren't going to be able to help them.
Right.
Hopefully doctors and medicine can, but those are, I know, tougher disorders to take care of. But really, if you know people who actually have those, show some compassion, because all those benefits, all those negatives, they have to deal with.
Right.
If you don't have a disorder, the good thing is you can choose to live your life in a way that gets you the sleep you need.
Right. So going back to visualizing, one thing that I do if I'm having trouble sleeping, we'll put a link to the video, but Brendan Burchard has something called the release meditation technique. And I'll kind of do something similar to that, except I say relax. And so I'll just close my eyes, and like in my mind, I just keep thinking, relax.
So this is one that you actually use when you go to sleep.
Okay. Oh yeah, no. If I can't get to sleep within 10 minutes of getting into bed, which rarely happens anymore because I think I'm kind of conditioned now that my brain just kind of knows to relax on its own. But that is something that helped me a lot.
Well, for me, it's one of those ironies where the military trained me to operate without sleep, but they also conditioned me to, if there's an opportunity to sleep. So, outside of a couple of years, I've actually done really well on being able to sleep. It's
and I'm going to give you a bonus tip that's not on your show flow.
A pro tip then.
Okay, so my pro tip is if your mind is racing, keep a notebook by your bed. Because typically when your mind races, it's because it's trying to get you to remember something.
Yeah.
And so if you can write that down and get it out of your mind will typically calm down.
Yeah.
So, that's why like a lot of people recommend like journaling before bed because you're kind of getting all your thoughts out onto a page. So that's another tip if you can't get your brain to stop racing.
And really think about it, a lot of people listen to the show are small business owners. Maybe you do work for someone else and you want to be a small business owner. But, just think if you could come in to work. And at this point now, when I get out of bed, when my feet touch the floor, I'm awake. And for years, that was not the truth. But think of the benefit to the partners you work with, the team you work with at work. If when you show up, and you already have been for a while, you're awake, you're clear, and you're productive. That's amazing. And your family too. Like, wait, who are you? What's this strange person doing here who's awake, who's like, I only need 1 cup of coffee before I go to work? Be that person.
And, imagine yourself, waking up in the morning, not dreading getting out of bed, being able to like put your feet on the floor and say, I'm here, I'm alert. You're thinking about who you want to be. You tell yourself you're going to crush it today. You're sharp. You're ready to go. You put on your workout gear, and you go, right? You lace up your shoes and you're ready to go. Like, how much better would your day be if you jumped out of bed like that?
I tell you, one of the major shifts I've made is the sleeping. I am not a morning person. But now when I get out of bed, I'm sharp, I'm alert, I do some things, and then I start my day. But the alertness I have now, the clarity I have, and I'm hoping you'll have the same thing. Try this out. At least those extra 50 minutes. Just test it out.
Yeah, and it's really that easy. Allow your body to repair itself. Burn those calories while you're sleeping. It's more effective than an elliptical. You'll get more done. You will clean up your brain so you've got less brain fog and you'll be more productive. So we hope you'll try these tips. Let us know if they work for you. You can post in our Facebook group, which if you're not in the Facebook group, it's facebook.com/groups/smallbizlife. And if you know business owners who seem a little foggy and could use this information, share this out with them. If they don't know how to listen to a podcast, show them how to do it. But, I think the world would be a much better place if we all just got a little bit more sleep.
And had a binary bed. This was Small Biz Life.